We have on the show today an embellished antique rug, presented by a guest who received it as a gift from a neighbor about 40 years ago. Interestingly, it turned out that the guest's neighbor was a hashish smuggler.
Price, it was, I don't know, $50, $60, something like that.
Rugs like this were purchased from nomads in Afghanistan and were often used at the time by smugglers to camouflage their illicit goods. The item is a tribal rug originating in the Baluchi tribe near Afghanistan and Persia. Dating back to the early 1930s, this piece has stood the test of time with little wear. The rich provenance of this rug truly sets it apart, and at auction, it would fetch a significant price of,
say it would retail for around $800.
The showcased item today is a prize binding from Nottingham High School, brought on the show by a guest. This binding was awarded to D.H. Lawrence, who was a novelist, short story writer, poet, playwright, literary critic, essayist, and painter.
Who founded the school. If you think about the novel Lady Chatterley's Lover, which is one of Lawrence's most notorious books, the gamekeeper, who Lady Chatterley enjoyed several romps with, shall we say.
Upon opening the binding, one discovers the school label and a photograph of Lawrence at 13 years old when he won the prize. Furthermore, some visible wear on the item is noticeable. This unique item narrates the tale of academic excellence and craftsmanship of the 1800s. At auction, this piece would be worth around,
I can easily see a collector paying high hundreds, maybe £1,000, something like that for it, as a one-off to have in their collection.
Presented on the show today by this guest, box with the inscription Buffalo Bill at the top side, which he acquired at an auction 21 years ago. Contained within this box is the Buffalo Bill Wild West set, featuring figurines that depicts cowboys fighting, buffaloes, and Native American scenery. This set was made by the Heyday Company in Germany, circa 1903. Fascinatingly, this item is in pristine condition.
3 daughters only had daughters, and she had told me that this box had been lugged from house to house to house and had never been played with.
Considering its exceptional preservation and historical significance, it is estimated to be worth,
at auction, could bring in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000.
This is a collection of mechanical pencils. Our guest's grandfather collected these pencils and they were passed on to her.
Had a potato factory, and the people would come to visit him, and he would ask them for a mechanical pencil, and that's how the collection started.
This collection dates back to the 1920s. Mechanical pencils are also known as propelling pencils, and they are fantastic tools for writing, drawing, and sketching, offering consistent lines without the need for sharpening. This collection consists of over 100 mechanical pencils.
Came into vogue in the early 1900s. The pen market has always been way ahead of the pencil market.
Each with its unique features and design. Some examples are the Coke and Pepsi designed pencils. This collection of mechanical pencils is of great quality and in excellent shape. At an auction, they would cost about,
You're looking at somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500.
I don't think my dad realized what he gave me.
Our guest presents a scrap of paper dated June 12, 1919, containing a letter from Jack Holcock to his sister Elsie before his historic flight across the Atlantic. Jack Holcock, born John, was the guest's grandmother's cousin and a pilot who, along with Arthur Whitten Brown, attempted the first non-stop flight across the Atlantic as part of a Daily Mail competition. The flight, in a Vickers Vimy bomber adapted for the journey, crash-landed in Ireland.
In a bog in Ireland, but yet survived and went on they won the £10,000.
The letter, carried in the official mailbag on the historic flight.
Yes.
And so what you have here is one of the first pieces of paper, the first piece of airmail.
Yes.
Despite their initial success, Jack Holcock later died in a crash landing in France later that year, adding a tragic element to his story. The appraiser values the letter not for its historical significance, but for its personal connection, estimating its value at,
I think I'd be very happy to put a figure of £1,000 to £1,200 on it.
Oh.
Welcome to a charming journey into history as we explore a 1976 treasure, signed letter from the legendary crooner Frank Sinatra, penned to his friend. It's more than just a letter. It's a timeless piece of history steeped in Sinatra's legendary aura. The value of the letter lies not only in Sinatra's signature, but also in its personal touch.
He talks about his tough reputation and that no one else can prove that type of allegation. And then he calls Mike Royko a pimp.
That was the blow.
I mean,
Sinatra's charisma leaps from the page with every word. His signature, bold and confident, further adds to his allure.
If it moves, I will give you another $100,000. If it does not, I punch you in the mouth. How about it?
The letter echoes an era of glamour and sophistication, each crease whispering tales of its journey through time. It's a window into the private world of an iconic figure, where Sinatra's words resonate with weight, even after decades. The letter's authenticity enhances its mystique, transforming it from a mere collectible into a tangible piece of Sinatra's soul. Holding it reminds us of Sinatra's impact on music and culture. Owner was taken aback upon discovering the letter's true worth.
As such, I would estimate it at auction at least $15,000.
I'm going to faint. I'm going to faint. I really...
Are you all right?
Current value has increased even further, now reaching $20,000. This is a collection of materials recovered from the Hindenburg wreckage. Our guest acquired these items from his father.
And when the Hindenburg crashed in Lakehurst, New Jersey, his unit was sent to guard it until they had the investigation about why it crashed. Some of the guys picked up some of the stuff they were throwing out.
So he could pick whatever he wanted?
Yeah.
The Hindenburg disaster was an airship accident that occurred on May 6, 1937 in New Jersey. The LZ-129 Hindenburg was a German commercial passenger-carrying airship regarded as the largest airship by enveloped volume. This grouping consisted of a pull rope, part of a metal structure, a canvas from the skin of the airship, and a melted window part. This collection holds significant importance to the Hindenburg disaster, with most of the content being authentic.
I would say we're somewhere in the $5,000 to $7,000. And for
Expert reveals a fascinating find, an 1875 pictorial St. Louis atlas. This stunning atlas provides a unique glimpse into the past, showcasing detailed illustrations and maps of the city of St. Louis.
Perspective map, or a bird's eye map in atlas form of the entire city of St. Louis. Perspective maps have always been made from the 16th century on.
This atlas, with its rarity, historical significance, unique features, and craftsmanship, was created by Rich Compton in 1875. As we flip through the pages, we are transported back to a time when St. Louis was undergoing rapid growth and development. Produced over a century ago, this atlas was a masterpiece of its time, providing valuable insights into the urban landscape and architecture of that era. Its significance extends beyond mere geography, offering a glimpse into the lives of those who called St. Louis home. From iconic landmarks to everyday scenes, the atlas captures the essence of life in St. Louis in 1875. Valuing this remarkable piece deepens our appreciation of history.
This particular volume, even with the conditions as I've stated, would have an auction value of $7,000 to $9,000.
Wow, pretty amazing.
Established by William L. Gilbert in 1828, the Gilbert Clock Company was a major U.S. clock manufacturer in the 19th and 20th centuries. The optic eye clock is a novelty clock featuring a unique optic eye mechanism. Originally crafted for optician shops, these clocks served as advertising tools. Likely made of brass or steel, the clock's internal gears and structure ensure durability and reliability. This mechanism typically involves a small hole or lens through which light passes onto a sensor. Ambient light changes trigger the sensor to activate the clock or create effects.
1910. These clocks were actually made for opticians.
The presence of the paper label from the Gilbert Clock Company on the back aids in authenticating its originality. Today, Gilbert optic eye clocks are sought after by collectors for their historical significance and unique design. This historical optic eye clock, valued by the appraiser,
in a retail store, you would expect to pay about $4,500 to $5,000 for this clock.
Okay.
On the show today, we're featuring a collection of items from a war veteran. These items belong to our guest's great-uncle, who served in the Gallipoli campaign for the United Kingdom during the First World War.
He had really quite a remarkable and very lucky war. Just tell me, he was very young when he joined up, wasn't he? How old was he?
I think he was about 16 and a half.
So only just old enough to join.
He became one of the prisoners of war of the Germans when the Ottoman Empire emerged victorious. This archive contains a handwritten letter to his father during the war.
Joined up, but I suppose there was a lot of peer pressure. They were all volunteering to go.
A watch given to him upon his return from Germany.
What an archive you've got here. It really is very complete, and we've got the original telegram to his family that says he was missing, believed captured. They must have...
The original telegram to his family informing them of his capture, his identity tag, and his prisoner of war tag, and a couple of photographs from his time in service. This family archive of an honorable man who served his country during the First World War is estimated to be valued at...
You're looking at £700 to £800 for this.
Goodness.
Our guest introduces Paddington Bear, a beloved character. The guest acquired this Paddington from a charity shop many years ago and have always been a fan of bears. Our guest describes Paddington's stare, reminiscent of a disapproving look from the Paddington books, adding humor and personality to the bear's character. The Paddington Bear in question is identified as one of the first licensed Paddington products designed by Shirley Clarkson for her company, Gabriel Designs, in the early 1970s. Despite being mass-produced and popular at the time, this vintage Paddington Bear could fetch between...
Probably somewhere between sort of £50 and £70 in this condition. Right.
Crafting a vintage circus lion's head demands careful attention to nostalgic detail and artistic precision. In that era, circuses dazzled with acrobatics, clowns, and the majestic presence of trained animals, captivating audiences. Lions, symbols of strength and majesty, were central to circus performances. Given its lightweight nature, a papier-mâché circus lion's head offers versatile opportunities for display and use. Equipped with papier-mâché, wire mesh, and faux fur as materials, taxidermized eyes instead of painted ones, which adds authenticity, evoking excitement and wonder. Each stroke of the sculptor's hand brings life to the features, from the fierce gaze to the noble mane. The appraiser valued the item with keen precision.
If you were to see this in a retail shop, that this probably would sell somewhere in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
These spoons once belonged to John Rutledge, a significant figure in American history. Rutledge served as a governor of South Carolina during the Revolutionary War, the signer of the Constitution.
Yes, they've always been in the family. They were just recently given to me by a distant cousin.
The spoons, interestingly enough, are English.
The spoons are English, made by the renowned Bateman family of silversmiths. Hester Bateman, the matriarch, was a prominent 18th century silversmith in England. English silver often bears marks indicating its years of production, and these spoons date back to 1774. Despite their English origin, they bear the crest of John Rutledge. Remarkably, these spoons have been passed down through generations for over 250 years. Their condition is exceptional, showing minimal signs of wear. In today's market, a pair like this...
In the market today, a pair like this in a retail setting, especially in South Carolina, would probably sell somewhere in the $6,000 to $7,000 price range.
We are presented with memorabilia of British royal origin. Our guest's husband received these artifacts from his neighbors.
Friendly with two elderly ladies who in fact had been brought up at Sandringham when Edward VII lived there. Their father was private secretary.
His collection of royal artifacts from the 19th century focuses on King Edward VII and Princess Victoria. The items of the memorabilia include several pictures of the royal family, a programmed ball with its original pencil held with a silk tassel, plates from an Imperial Russian service, a leather cigar box, amongst many others. The most rare and unique item of this collection is a stick pin. Its case is made of red leather with the twin imperial eagle of the Romans. The stick pin was crafted by a renowned goldsmith, Carl Fabergé. The Fabergé stick pin is made in 2 gold colors and a bit of sapphire. This memorabilia of the British royal family is unique and holds great significance in the history of the United Kingdom. At an auction, will fetch about...
So £12,000 for the entire collection, £10,000 for a Fabergé stick pin with an imperial provenance.
The guest brought a bronze piece inherited from his mother's side of the family. The piece was Boy on Trapeze Mechanical Bank, also known as French's Automatic Toy Bank. It was patented in 1891 by Barton Smith and produced for about 8 to 10 years. It featured a boy on a trapeze who revolves and deposits coins with a counterbalance mechanism.
It became heavier, and it was heavier weight. It counterbalanced, so he spun around a couple of times.
The bronze model was rare and fragile, with few surviving examples. It was cast with beautiful filigree and heads made of cast iron. The condition of the paint was crucial to its value, and this piece was in excellent condition. The appraiser considered it the best condition he has ever seen, making it a highly valuable and rare piece. The appraiser estimated at
Market value would be $10,000 to $12,000.
Really?
Yeah.
We are featuring a collection of vases. These vases are called Moorcraft vases, created by the British pottery manufacturer Moorcroft, founded in 1913 by William Moorcroft. William was a British artist and potter renowned for his exceptional talent. He was made Potter to the Queen by Queen Mary in 1928. Moorcroft pottery is renowned for its distinctive and intricate designs, as exemplified in this collection. Moorcroft vases are typically known to be relatively heavy because they are made from earthenware.
Faking and forging Moorcroft wares, but in particular, and one of these examples is amongst us, there was a batch that came out in the late 1990s.
These vases bear Moorcroft's signature at the base, proving their authenticity. Although one of the vases seems to be fake, original Moorcroft vases of this quality at an auction will be worth at least
You'd be looking £1,500, £2,000.
What we have here is an exquisite piece of jewelry. This piece belonged to the guest's parents. It was made by the American luxury and design house Tiffany & Company. This Tiffany & Company brooch is a late deco piece, likely from around 1937.
A lot. It was made in New York, probably around 1937.
Fascinatingly, this piece resembles a button.
I was going for it. Circle pins are very in at the moment.
It features 2 rows of emeralds on either side of baguette diamonds. The brooch is highly valued due to its original clasp and fittings. Considering this brooch's remarkable design and the reputation of Tiffany & Company, it's highly valued at
retail value, I think you're talking $65,000. Not bad to find in a button.
The guest brought a Smith Miller Coca-Cola truck that he received as a Christmas present in childhood. His grandmother, who was very poor, received the toy as a random act of kindness from a banker in Great Bend, Kansas. The guest was only allowed to play with the toy indoors for the short periods of time which helped preserve its condition. The toy featured a cab-over-engine design, making it a rare and valuable collector's item.
And here, you'd have 2 metal spikes that would keep it out from the wall. Now, when we look at the back of this, we can see that it's fitted for what's called a long pendulum.
It was manufactured by Smith Miller Toys and was made of cast aluminum.
Several years ago, I also brought in with the clock a newspaper clipping, which I think is from a Toronto paper.
Smith Miller Toys started in the 1940s and was one of the first companies to make toys out of aluminum, but it closed down in the 1950s. The toy was in mint condition, still in its original box, and had a clear history of ownership, making it highly valuable to collectors. Due to its excellent condition and rarity, the appraiser estimated the toy's value at
In its present condition, it's probably worth that, $1,500. But
today's guest was handed this piece of artistic history in the form of this stained glass panel. Created by a great artistic enterprise at the time, which was called Tiffany Studios, glass panels exude the aura of elegance, quality, and longevity.
And he asked if he could take some of the glass. Then 1968, he asked us if we wanted this glass. But he said, with the condition that we do not destroy it, and he gave us the history. Then about 3 years ago, I was going through fields.
Despite being made from glass, these panels have stood against the test of time and maintained their magnificence. These panels also represent a piece of Chicago, as the manufacturers were based there.
That was produced by the Tiffany Studios.
Seeing that the glass was perfectly manufactured to represent and communicate Chicago history, we already know that Tiffany, the manufacturers, were experts at the craft of glassmaking. These glass panels were likely created around circa 1907, and since they've maintained their elegance through thick and thin, and are still radiating in magnificence, these panels fetch a hefty price of
I would estimate the total value of this collection at $35,000 to $45,000.
Thank you.
Our guest got interested in movie posters while in Cincinnati and visited a collector who had a Bride of Frankenstein press book on his wall. Initially not for sale, the collector later offered it to the guest for about 3 years, and despite the significant cost of $7,000, the guest decided to purchase it. The item is not a poster, but a press book, which is a booklet showcasing the ad campaign options for the movie. This press book is from the 1935 film The Bride of Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff.
To show all the different options that you had for posters, we're talking about The Bride of Frankenstein, 1935, Universal Pictures.
Our guest was drawn to the press book because of its historical and aesthetic value.
It might just be an ad campaign booklet, a press booklet, but it has some of the same graphics that were featured on some of the top.
The appraiser notes that items related to films like Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein are extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors.
It's actually not a poster, but I wanted to start with it on this side because you have it framed so we can see both sides of it.
At auction, the press book could conservatively fetch anywhere from
Today, conservatively at auction, we would expect them to estimate it anywhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range.
For many history fanatics, reading this letter, signed by Theodore Roosevelt, one of the United States presidents, would feel like a dream come true. Since this letter offers many folks the chance to experience what it felt like to be the President of the United States, this letter is therefore special.
Sure. This is actually, it's my husband's piece, and he's quite a history buff and particularly interested in Theodore Roosevelt.
For many who don't know, Theodore Roosevelt was the youngest president in U.S. history, and he was inaugurated at the age of 42. So reading this letter signed by Theodore, who was a young president at the time, would serve as a historical event. Hence, due to the fact that Theodore was a respected statesman and that this signed letter by him depicts an integral part of the American history, this letter auctions for.
Well, in auction values, I would say that it is in the neighborhood of $25,000 as an auction estimate.
On today's show, we are presented with a Plains Indian courting flute, inherited by this guest from his grandfather.
He passed away before I was able to find out where he received it.
So it's been in the family quite a while.
Yes, my mother remembers it when she was a child, seeing it in the house.
Native American warriors would play this flute while standing outside to court the woman they had a romantic interest in. The figure of a loon is depicted on the flute's block.
A loon as a flute block, which is very evocative of the sound of the flute, and you can kind of romanticize what it would have sounded like out in the plains.
Furthermore, the ties around the flute are made from buffalo hide. There are traces of red ochre on both the buffalo hide and the loon. Dating back to the mid-19th century, this handcrafted flute is truly a marvel to behold. Remarkably, this flute is in great condition, and it tells the tale of the craftsmanship and culture of Native Americans, placing its value at auction to be around.
So I think I'd put an estimate of about $6,000 to $8,000 on it.
Wow. A fine piece of furniture is presented today in the form of a table. Our guest received this piece from her mom. The piece is a Korean lacquer table and features designs of East Asian origin.
It is Korean.
Oh, cool.
The decoration is so striking. A dragon, phoenix.
Painted in dark caramel and infused with gold, this piece has a rope twist brass border. The dark color of the lacquer gives us insight into the time of its craftsmanship.
This table, which is from that period, 1910 to 1945.
A piece of this quality, giving us insight into the history of Korean society, would auction for.
For insurance purposes, I'd value this at $3,000.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Right here is a Newcomb College pottery. The guest inherited it from her mother. Most Newcomb pieces are typically blue and green, often with pale colors.
Newcomb tends to be blue and green. Those are the colors they used. And very often the blues and the greens are pale. This is a bright mint green.
The pottery is known for its distinctive style, which features intricate designs.
It has the typical Newcomb marks on the bottom, the Newcomb College NC mark, the artist Anna Frances Simpson.
As seen, the covered potpourri jar color mimics fuchsia blossoms. Also, the trivet is larger than usual, with a thick round rim, oak and moss design, showing deep rich blue colors. Additionally, the tile's design is botanical. However, both of these pieces are considered uncommon expressions of the common forms that have a combined value of.
This is somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500 at auction.
That's exciting.
Good.
The guest brought a painting that was purchased by her mother at an auction in South Dartmouth, Massachusetts, in the early 1950s. The artist was Charles H. Gifford, a shoemaker turned painter from Fairhaven, Massachusetts. Gifford was inspired by the work of Albert Bierstadt and was part of the Luminist school of painting. The painting was a beautiful example of luminous art, with a dramatic yet serene and atmospheric quality. It was in good condition, aside from a small puncture and needing professional cleaning.
We were affiliated with the New Bedford area, and he had the opportunity to see this.
With restoration and cleaning, unlocking its full potential, it could be sold for.
Wouldn't surprise me at all to see it make more like $4,000 to $6,000.
Guest brought in a miniature dinner set acquired by her mother in 1968.
Really are the most exquisite quality.
It was identical to one in Queen Mary's doll's house, a renowned national treasure. The appraiser shared background information about Queen Mary's doll's house, which was designed by Sir Edward Lutyens. They discussed the exquisite quality of the miniature pieces and their royal provenance. The intricate pieces in a small size were made by Minton's Limited. The set presented included 18 miniature plates, 3 sauce tureens, a sauce boat, and platters of various sizes. Identical to its sister set, the miniature plates had Queen Mary's cipher written on them in 22-karat gold. The appraiser highlighted the intricate detailing and marvelous gilding of the piece. Given the rarity and historical significance of the tea set, the suggested value stunned the guest.
I'm going to say that this service is worth £7,000 to £10,000.
What we have here is a beaded purse, originally belonging to the guest's great-grandmother and was purchased in 1931. This purse features an 18-karat gold adorned with jade plaques. Another standout feature is the lovely beaded panel. Additionally, it has winged griffins both at the front and back. This beautiful bag at auction would fetch a good amount of about.
And I would place a retail value on the bag between $4,000 and $5,000.
Guest brings a violin and bow to the antiques treasure hunt. He inherited them from his father, who traded a house for this violin owned by a Polish girl.
That time was all through the Depression. There was no such thing as a good violin.
The instrument is believed to be a Jacobus Steiner. Jacobus Steiner was a renowned violin maker of the 17th century, influencing many. This violin is likely a later copy made in the late 18th century. Details suggest it was crafted in a town called Markham.
Oval-shaped sound holes. The eyes of the sound holes actually are the F-hole.
The accompanying bow, made by the Frechner Company in Germany, dates back to 1920. Appraiser values the violin as.
I feel that the value of the instrument, we might see about $500 on today's market.
Combined value of both items ranges from $2,000 to $2,300, but their updated worth now stands between $2,600 and $3,300. Showcased on the show today is an elegant Russian silver gilt and enameled egg, acquired by our guest from her grandmother. Inscribed at the front of the egg is Christos Voskaris, which translates to Christ is risen in English. This exquisite piece is crafted from silver and Champlave enamel. Furthermore, it was produced by a firm called Klebnikov in Russia.
Which is one of the real important names in Russian jewelry. Klebnikov was an imperial court jeweler.
Additionally, opening the egg reveals the gilt silver wash and Russian silver hallmarks with the marker visible within bearing the initials IKH.
In the Russian initials. Now, even though Ivan Klebnikov was originally from St. Petersburg, he moved and set up shop in Moscow in the 1870s.
At auction, this egg, with its well-preserved condition and intricate designs, is estimated to be worth.
I would put an auction estimate of about $2,000 to $3,000 on it.
Only a few people can recount their experiences during World War II, and today's guest's father was one of those people.
A prisoner during World War II. The Red Cross had come and distributed these wartime logs.
Serving in World War II as a prisoner of war, our guest's father was able to put his horrendous experiences working as a cleaner into writing.
This shelter in the latrines, and that's where he would keep it. Incidentally, he had a nickname of Stinky.
Stinky, okay.
To many history fanatics, this war log provides an in-depth experience into what prisoners faced and how it came on to shape their lives after World War II. This war log represents 18 months of war history, and inside we have poems and drawings made not just by our guest's father, but by other prisoners who also recounted their experiences in the form of written reports. Featured is a mugshot of the guest's father, and this was the norm at the time since prisoners of war were really treated as prisoners. Even though the war log represents a piece of history most people would rather forget, it still holds a precious memory in the minds of folks who were involved and redefines patriotism at its peak. Hence, this war log auctions at
auction, this is somewhere in the $1,500 to $2,000 range as a memento of the service that he provided to the country.
Today's episode features a Gibson ES 335 guitar. The guest exchanged a 1939 Chevrolet for it in 1971. The owner, who originally purchased it in California, played country and western music, while the guest plays rock and roll and country and western with it.
I haven't used it in some years, but back in the 70s I did quite a bit. Played a lot of barn dances.
This guitar stands as one of the two iconic classic guitars, blending the solid body and the hollow body to offer the best of both worlds.
B.B. King, Keith Richards, but it was really championed and became really popular.
It effectively eliminates the feedback often experienced with hollow-bodied guitars. Introduced in 1958, it underwent several variations and featured different pickups over time.
On it had what was called PAF pickups, and they discontinued those in 1962 and went with these.
This model was favored by numerous famous artists, gaining popularity when Eric Clapton began using it. Available in various color variations, this particular one boasts a regular sunburst finish. Although its value decreased in 1992, this unique guitar now holds significant worth.
Guitar at a retail price would be $12,000 to $12,500.
This is an oil painting made on canvas. Our guest inherited it from her grandmother,
who was born in Indian Territory in Oklahoma, and she grew up in Oklahoma, which had 8 brothers and sisters.
This piece of art was created by Joseph Amadeus Fleck. Fleck was an American painter and muralist renowned for his significant contributions to printmaking and expressionist art. This painting is titled The Old Santa Fe Road and depicts the historical route in the American Southwest, the Santa Fe Trail. Although the painting bears the artist's signature, it shows significant signs of wear.
We can see that there are paint losses here and here, and in fact
in the middle.
Here and across the sky, in fact, and some.
Being a significant painting by a renowned artist focusing on a significant aspect of American history, it would have an estimated value of...
It's worth a little bit more. In spite of the condition problems at auction, I would expect it to make somewhere in the $6,000 to $10,000
Wow.
range.
A delicate piece of art glass was showcased on the show. It was gifted to the guest and the husband by someone.
We don't know anything about it except the person that gave it to us said that it was very special and she had no one in her family.
This item is Durand Art Glass, produced by the company called Vineland Flint Glassworks, founded by Victor Durand.
Son, Victor Durand Jr., established an art glass line, and that art glass line was called Durand Art Glass.
Furthermore, this piece of glass art dates back to circa 1924 to 1931. Depicted on the item is a leaf in vine design. Upon inspecting the bottoms of the glass, we can see a Durand signature. An elegant piece of history featuring such beautiful designs in such pristine condition would undoubtedly fetch an auction value of...
The pair would have sold for $2,500.
Oh, great, great. It's a beautiful piece.
Presented on the show is a cast iron bust. It belonged to the guest's great uncle. This piece of folk art was likely made in a foundry around 1900. It depicts a dignified American black man.
Okay. There's no marks on it where it was put on an anvil and did any handwork with it with a hammer or anything like that.
Interestingly, it was made as a whimsical piece by a worker during their off hours, known as end-of-day pieces.
Well, end of day was used in a lot of manufacturing places, glass, porcelain, foundries.
The bust shows traces of paint, particularly black for the hair, red for the lips, and some remnants around the eyes. While some might view this piece as a racially stereotypical depiction, it is a dignified representation with a price value of,
conservatively out there in the market, it probably would be in the $1,000 to $1,500 range. Okay.
A mesmerizing Chinese painting catches the eye with its vibrant colors and intricate details. It is a piece by Cui Baishi, a renowned 20th century Chinese artist. This painting is a rare treasure that is seldom seen in the market. It came to the family through a friend of the guest who obtained it from his father. This incredible painting was a gift to the guest's mother years ago, during the friend's stay in their home.
Years ago, when a friend of mine wanted to stay a couple of days at our house, he got the painting himself from it.
The significance of this piece is immense, considering Cui Baishi's stature in Chinese art history. In today's market, its estimated value is,
I put an auction estimate of $10,000 to $15,000
$10,000 to $15,000 on that.
This unassuming miniature chest holds a story waiting to be unraveled. Discovered by a couple on a cross-country trip at an antique show, it piqued their interest as a potential addition to their doll collection. Dating back to the Federal period around 1815, its design points to a mid-Atlantic origin, possibly the Philadelphia area.
A miniature. If this were a full-sized tiger maple serpentine front chest, it wouldn't be worth as much.
The gracefully arched apron with its central spur and the serpentine front are hallmarks of this region's cabinet-making style.
Mid-Atlantic states cabinet making, which is a thrifty way to be able to lock the drawers, is what's known as the Quaker lock.
Its Quaker lock is a cost-saving measure without a complex mechanism.
On a mechanical lock in order to secure the top two drawers.
The chest boasts its original cast brass hardware and drawer banding, adding another layer of value. The appraiser estimates a potential auction value of,
if I were to bring this to auction today, I would put $6,000 to $9,000 on it. Oh.
Perhaps the reason we don't have a lot of glass collectors is because of how fragile glass is. But today's guest doesn't seem to fit into that category because we can see featured here is a pair of mounted urns.
Beautiful bronze stands. There's marks on the bottom. I'm going to lift this up. It might be a little bit heavy.
Originally looking like it was made from porcelain, this pair is made from high-quality glass, and this has definitely contributed to its longevity and has shown how the pair has stood properly through the test of time. To further solidify their longevity, it is seen that these vases or urns were created in the late 19th century and are still of superior quality till now.
We can see the date January 1872, which I totally agree with that date, this late 19th century roughly.
It's no wonder that for a pair of quality glass pieces as these, they auction at,
put a retail value of $5,000.
I'm delighted with that.
A charming glass sculpture in the form of a chick, the Vistosi Pulcino, arrived for appraisal. Presented to the guest as a gift from Italy in the mid-1960s, while initially attributed to Vistosi, the company that produced it.
His name is Pulcino, and Pulcino means young chicken or chick. And if you look at him, he really does look like a cute little 1960s chicken.
However, the true creator was Alessandro Pianon, a young designer who joined Vistosi in 1956. Pianon designed the Pulcino around 1963. Crafted from glass, the chick's body featured a textured surface reminiscent of feathers.
Signed, and that actually is to be expected. They shouldn't be signed. I'm sure there are ones out there, but as a rule, they're not.
This effect was achieved using the marine glass technique, where tiny glass fragments are incorporated into molten glass during the rolling process.
Line of designs, the designs of birds, and there were other ones, but I think this one is particularly charming because He almost has his own little feathers.
Spindly legs, like copper, provided both support and a fantastic touch to the design. The retail value of this incredible sculpture is estimated at around.
In a retail venue, this would sell in the neighborhood of $7,500.
Oh my goodness, that's a real shock.
Featured on the show are a number of interesting items brought by this guest, which have been in his family for generations. We have on the show a vintage photograph and a letter dated July 9, 1880, depicting where the guest's ancestor was applying for an Indian agent position in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Another item presented is a late classic Navajo chief's blanket featuring elaborate designs, including diamond-shaped patterns. The blanket was made from hand-spun goat wool, while on the red-colored diamond-shaped designs, there's the bayeta wool. Furthermore, some parts of the blanket are dyed in indigo.
Wonderful natural indigo dye. The way these blankets were worn, and if you'll help me take this down.
This blanket was worn by a tribal chief for ceremonial dances. Such a blanket showcases the craftsmanship of the indigenous peoples, and with its rich history, it constitutes an important part of Native American culture. It is estimated to be worth.
This blanket today would easily command between $20,000 and $30,000.
Is that right? Yeah, it certainly was.
As seen, it displays an eccentric view. Released in 1905 and written by Edward Burne-Jones, an expert artist who lived from early 1830s to the late 1800s. This book, called the Flower Book, is unique in the sense that it has no pictures of flowers.
It's the flower book, but there's no pictures of flowers.
I know.
In fact, the book houses many different paintings whose names were inspired by flower names. Inside the book, we have a painting named Jacob's Ladder. We also have another named The Key to Spring, which depicts the springtime. When we look at a beautiful artistic book such as this, it is hard to put a value on it. Nevertheless, it auctions at.
If you had to replace this, that raises the price from 15 to maybe 25,000 or more.
We had no idea about that, yeah. That's unbelievable.
The Art Deco brooch has a rich family history, originally belonging to the guest's grandmother and later passed down to the guest by their mother. The guest's grandmother cherished the pin, but it was lost at a dance during her college years. Thankfully, it was found, preserving its significance of the family. Brooch features pierced platinum and diamonds.
It's an old European cut diamond, and it weighs just over 1 carat. It's a nice, white, lively stone, and it really grounds the design.
The intricate handcrafted design is a testament to the Art Deco era's style and craftsmanship. Although the brooch is not signed, it comes in its original box from Myron Freeman and Brothers.
Myron Freeman and Brothers, who was a jeweler out of Atlanta at the time, which would have been around about 1930.
The overall diamond weight of the brooch is approximately 4.5 carats. At auction today, the brooch is conservatively estimated to be worth between
$6,500 to $8,500.
Wow. That's nice to know, and although, as I said, I have no intent of selling it because I love the family history with it.
Today's guest features something we don't see every day. We have here a Fred Lauer Olympic collection. Fred Lauer was a 4-time Olympian whose career spanned from 1924 through 1936.
Fred was a water polo player, and he was in 4 Olympics. Right. And apparently he was also a collector of Olympic memorabilia and his own memorabilia.
We can see shown here in the collection are his Olympic sweaters and books. Perhaps what's surprising about Fred is that he was a collector of memorabilia, and we can see here 2 books of which, one came from the 1936 Olympics, contain the signatures of many great Olympians. It was like Fred knew that many of the people whose signatures are in the collection would later go on to be huge stars. For a collection that houses the signatures of many men that were on to change the narrative in different sports, this collection fetches a hefty price of
about $10,000, probably more at auction. Right. It's just marvelous. It's a real piece of history.
Thank you.
Acquired at an estate sale for $20, this lamp reflects the guest's appreciation for mid-century modern design. Designed by Gay Olente, a prominent figure in Italian design, the lamp is known as a Pipistrello Bianca, and is a masterpiece of mid-century modern Italian design.
That has the original retail price for the piece at $129.99. Wow. So you're ahead of the game already. Yeah.
Despite some damage to the methacrylate shade caused by heat from the light bulb, the lamp retains its iconic design. The appraiser suggests that, offered at a public auction, this lamp could fetch between $300 to $500 as a parts lamp. However, if the original shade can be found or replaced, the lamp could retail for as much as
$1,500 to $2,500.
Wow, very cool.
Passed down to him by his grandmother, the guest showed a painting that perfectly depicts the saying, "Show, don't tell." It's an oil painting that makes you feel like you're in the scenario.
By her great friend Myrtis. As far as we know, it was bought for her in 1919 by her father.
And it depicts St. Michael's Mount, which is a tidal island. It was done by Sir Lamorna Birch, an artist whose expertise was in using oils and watercolors. This one, being no different, exudes so much elegance and is very well detailed, as we can see many tiny details like the sun, etc. What's surprising here is, despite the real scenario not being as elegant as the painting depicts the usual workday of individuals at the time. As an oil painting that makes the viewer feel like he was present in the scene, the value of this painting is estimated to be...
The price was £3,500, and I believe the lowest price was £150.
£150?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you'd get a couple of offers here for £150.
Really? Wow. That's great.
The guest purchased this diary 15 years ago at an estate auction for just $5. It belonged to Warren, an abolitionist from Boston.
Yes.
The address is 28 Cornhill, and he was an abolitionist.
Warren traveled south after the war to document the conditions of slaves. He recounted a slave's journey who was sold twice, once for over $1,200. He also mentioned that education and religion were permitted, which caused discontent among the local community. He also depicted Brian's slave pen in Savannah, creating a chilling illustration. Diaries like this hold value for the historical content. Conservative auction value of the diary is
$3,000 to $5,000.
Oh, really? Wow. That's great.
Sometimes we stumble on masterpieces that don't look like masterpieces at first. At least that was the case of our guest today, who bought this Mexican magiscope, created in 1978 by Feliciano Bejar, a Mexican artist. He started experimenting with this particular style in the 1960s. On the base of the glass, we can see his name and date. We can see that the magiscope is finished and polished, which shows it was created by an expert craftsman.
He actually traveled to New York for his first exhibition in 1948, and it's really not until the 1960s that he stumbled upon this style of art, which is really sculpture.
The purpose of the magiscope is to distort reality and paint it to look a different way. It takes a massive creative mind to create such a masterpiece, and that's why, for a unique sculpture as this, it is estimated to be worth around
a retail setting right now for $3,000. So it's a pretty great purchase.
Yes.
This archaic weapon of defense certainly looks stunning. It was acquired at a museum by this guest when he traded one of his personal paintings for the shield. This shield originated from Mindanao in the Philippines, where the headhunting tribe settled. Particularly, this shield is from a group called the Bagabo. Observing closely, there are little holes along the shield's edges, signifying it had human hair fringe that ran around the edges on both sides. This very rare shield is probably from the late 1800s to early 1900s. A rare shield like this would definitely appeal to an audience that enjoys collecting old armaments, and this places its value at auction to be
$2,000 to $3,000. Thank you. And it's a great piece. Thank you.
This amethyst-colored sandwich glass decanter is a highly collectible piece dating back to the early to mid-19th century, around 1820 to 1840. What sets this decanter apart is its intact stopper, a rarity among similar pieces where the stopper is often lost or damaged. The amethyst hue of the glass adds to its desirability among collectors. Appraisers estimate this amethyst-colored sandwich glass could sell for $300 to $500.
So I think think you have something that's really to be treasured.
The appraiser identifies the item as a bodice ornament, dating to around 1880, possibly closer to the turn of the century. The ornament is made of silver on gold, with hallmarks indicating it is Russian in origin. Guests thought it might have been purchased at an auction in Russia, which the appraiser confirms as a possibility. The appraiser estimates the value of the bodice ornament to be between
$15,000 to $20,000. So I think you have something that's really to be treasured.
Late husband of the guest purchased this cup in Philippi, West Virginia, after a major flood. He checked with a local museum, but they weren't sure if it belonged to them. It seems like it has endured some rough times, evident from the dings and dents caused by the flood. This cup was crafted in Moscow, Russia, in 1860.
We've got this building, and then finally you've got this heart shape enclosing the date 22nd of November 1861.
It's a sizable beaker displaying the characteristic craftsmanship of Moscow. It may have been crafted for a special occasion or commemorative purpose. Unlike typical Moscow cups, this one's unique design, size, and quality set it apart from others. Despite some damage, it still retains significant value.
$100 to $1,200.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
This original Confederate soldier's repatriation oath, dated at the end of the Civil War, is a rare historical document. To return to the Union, Confederate soldiers had to sign an oath agreeing not to take up arms against the Union and to abide by laws regarding slavery. The guest's possession of this oath is a testament to his ancestors' history and the tumultuous period of American history. This Confederate soldier's repatriation oath could fetch around.
They probably bring around $500 to $600.
This portrait, initially not cataloged as a shoot, intrigued the guest due to its resemblance to other known shoot portraits. The guest's research and close examination of the artwork's details, however, some discrepancies were noted, such as the handling of hands, which differed from the delicate approach typical to shoot's work. Despite these differences, the pastel drawing technique and the attention to detail, such as lacework, are consistent with the shoot style. At an auction, the guest bid up to $30,000, significantly higher than the estimated value of $4,000 to $6,000. The appraiser acknowledged the potential value if the portrait could be definitively attributed to shoot, suggesting a retail value of
$25,000 retail. You can prove we find a signed one with a similar layout, and we can really nail it as a shoot. Then you're talking $125,000. Wow.
God. Whoa. I don't know if my brother's getting this back after the show.
This watch and chatelaine hold a poignant story, originally belonging to a neighbor who fled France during the Nazi invasion. Left to the guest's father in her will, the watch and chatelaine have been passed down to the guest and
through her will. And unfortunately, my dad passed away about a year ago, so myself and my brother have been the owners of this watch.
The chatelaine, designed for men, is made of steel, overlaid with vari-colored gold and silver, featuring cut steel swivels for holding various objects. The watch, crafted by Parisian watchmaker Romilly around 1750, is a key wind piece with exceptional condition, showcasing a scene of two women and a man on the back. Despite initial doubts about its authenticity, the appraiser confirmed the watch and chatelaine's genuine nature. The fair market value of this remarkable set is estimated to be between
$12,000 to $15,000. Oh my God. Whoa. I don't know if my brother's getting this back after the show.
Oh my. Oh. I will take better care than I did.
This exquisite parasol has a remarkable history, originating from Queen Victoria's court. The previous owner, associated with the Queen's court guard,
Queen Victoria presented this to her as a gift.
Remarkably preserved, the parasol showcases a stunning combination of silk and lace. Its porcelain handle, adorned with gilt, adds a touch of elegance. The top features a marvelous portrait of Queen Victoria, with an open cartouche for personalization. The initials VR signify Victoria Regina, dating back to her coronation in 1837. Despite its age, the parasol's impeccable condition allows us to see the maker's name inside.
And it says Paragon Fox & Company Limited.
This British royal commemorative item is a rare find and is valued between
$2,000 to $3,000 today at auction.
Oh my. Oh, I will take better care than I did.
Its exceptional condition and historical significance make it a truly remarkable piece. Chinese pottery is highly sought after. On the show today, we have a guest who presented this ancient Chinese piece of pottery. It was acquired by the guest's parents in the 1960s at an antique shop in Chicago. This piece originated from South China.
It was made in South China, probably in Canton Province.
It symbolizes a Qing dynasty official. On both the front and back side of this pottery, there are plaques that serve as rank badges. Additionally, it features a court necklace around its neck and possibly an otter's fur cap on its head, denoting its official status. Upon closer inspection, we can observe a depiction of a dragon robe, symbolizing honor. Pieces like this one typically originate from the early 1800s. Although this piece has sustained some damage, it can be easily repaired. The minor damage does not diminish its value that much, and when you look at its rarity and the fact that it is not easy to come by, this piece would sell for around
$40,000.
Okay, cool.
And wouldn't be surprised at all if it sold for more.
That would be neat.
Passed down from his wife's family to the guest and his children, this oil painting by Louis Aston Knight is a perfect blend of sheer artwork and creativity. Mr. Knight was fond of drawing beautiful scenes that he had experienced, and he did it in such an almost perfect way. This painting, being no different, is what you would find in a late 19th century to early 20th century collection.
Late 19th century, early 20th century collection. This is by an artist by the name of Louis Aston Knight. He was born in 1873 to a painter by the name of Daniel Ridgway Knight.
Likely drawn in 1910, as someone whose interest was in painting mills and cottages, he painted this one to depict a cottage at night. Only a few men at the time could boast of an artwork that was so detailed, and it was no wonder this painting fetched a high value at
$45,000 to $50,000 these days.
All right, okay.
The guest presented a mantel clock made in Paris that was purchased from a family friend. This clock was sold to people who often case their clocks or styles. Most likely an unusual clock that featured a brass case that had a champalive decoration.
Now, champalive is a process of enamel where they put enamel that's divided by brass.
Also, it has an up dial with a wonderful floral decoration on the inside of the time ring. This piece is unique and differs from the standard ones that were just plain white. However, its wonderful feet come in a form of an animal paw, which indicates the well-detailed artistry that went into its casting. In addition to that, the piece has fully turned columns that are decorated and inset into the case. Considering the extra time spent in casting this piece and the champalive decoration, it is worth an estimated value of
$2,500 to $3,000 for it.
It's great.
That's a pretty good buy.
It's beautiful.
This old incandescent lamp had been in the guest's family for 80 years, bought at her grandmother's auction. However, this lamp was damaged in the Loma Prieta earthquake about 20 years ago. It is missing some pieces of glass and has some cracks. The lamp was made by a company called Duffner & Kimberly in New York, known for their extraordinary quality glasswork in the early 20th century, and the company's insignia is very visible on the lamp's handle. The base is made of gilt bronze.
It's base that to me is just drop-dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
Although this lamp has had some damage in the past, there are people willing to restore it, which would significantly increase its market value at auction. Even though this lamp has been damaged and missing some pieces, it still retains a visible company insignia and gilt bronze, which places its value at around
$12,000 to $16,000 if it were in good shape.
I'm happy to know something about it.
This piece is a Chinese porcelain vase, inherited by the guest from his grandmother. A pastiche of the best of Chinese porcelain production in the Qing dynasty. What's interesting about this vase is the exquisite enamel painting, the marvelous landscape scene, gilded work, and molded decoration of dragons and leafy tendrils. Despite its Qing dynasty aesthetic, this vase is a product of the Republican period, Also, it is a testament to the continuation of traditional craftsmanship during a period of change in Chinese history. However, this piece is not just a beautiful decorative vase. It is also a tangible link to the past, preserving the artistry and craftsmanship of a bygone era, making it a highly valued piece that would sell for
$6,000 and $8,000.
Oh, wow. Damn.
And you know what?
What?
If all the gilding were intact,
Yeah.
it'd be worth at least $10,000 to $15,000 at auction.
Jeez.
That's unbelievable.
Now, is your mom still living?
Yeah, yes, she is, and she's going to be mighty shocked.
Make sure you tell her that $75 many years ago was...
Back in 1978, our guest acquired a special document at a WGBH auction. This document displayed information about George Barker, who was born in 1788 and was a person of color. Guest paid $75 for this document. The document describes Barker's height, complexion, and hair in detail. It's a rare find, especially for a free person of color, in such exquisite form. It's not just any paper, it's a certificate of citizenship for a person of color. Scholars, collectors, museums, and libraries would treasure this piece. Appraiser leaves the guest astonished by the document's newfound worth, sparking awe.
$3,500 to $5,000 for this document.
That's unbelievable.
Now, is your mom still living?
Yeah, yes, she is, and she's going to be mighty shocked.
Make sure you tell her that $75 many years ago was...
Over time, the value of this document declined to a range of $600 to $900.